We are very excited about this morning's keynote. For the first time at ESPC, we're honoured to welcome Microsoft's Charles Lamanna, Corporate Vice President for the Low-Code Application Platform.
Hello, welcome to ESPC 20. My name is Charles Lamanna, and I'm going to be covering how you can build agile business processes with the Microsoft Power Platform. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. And I think we have some really exciting updates about new features, new capabilities, customer stories, as well as a fantastic demo about the Power Platform and how it fits into the Office and Azure ecosystem. To kind of get started, I like to always talk about the main reason that Microsoft is so excited about the Power Platform. It's because of a bunch of broad-based changes happening in the industry. We're seeing demand for over 500 million new applications to be created in the next 5 years, which is more than all of the applications created in the last 40 years. Additionally, the demand for mobile applications is growing 5 times faster than IT developers can satisfy them, and over 85% of organizations are struggling to analyze and understand their unstructured data. And on top of that, 86% of all companies are struggling to go hire developers and technical talent. Because of all these different aspects happening in the market right now, we're hearing from customers an increased demand for low-code application development. And Gartner has gone so far as to say that by 2024, 65% of enterprise application development will be done with low-code tools. And that's where the Microsoft Power Platform comes in. The Microsoft Power Platform is one low-code platform across Office 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and your own custom standalone solutions. The Power Platform includes Power BI for low-code data visualization and data understanding, Power Apps for a low-code way to create web and mobile applications, Power Automate for a low-code way to do robotic process automation and workflow automation, and last but not least, the newest addition, Power Virtual Agent, which is a low-code way to go build chatbots and conversational agents. Altogether, this allows you to build any kind of solution you can imagine without having to go entirely into a code-first environment. And if we go drill into that a little bit, talk about two of the most important aspects, it's Power Apps and the Common Data Service. Power Apps supports over 300 data connectors out of the box, so you can build pixel-perfect experiences and applications on top of all the data sources that are already used inside of your enterprise. It also has rich developer extensibility, which we'll talk about later for the Azure developers out there, as well as a great governance story, so you can go empower a bunch of Power Apps developers without compromising on security or control. And if you use Office products like Excel or PowerPoint, you should feel right at home inside the Power Apps studio when you go build those web and mobile apps. In the case of the Common Data Service, that's the low-code backend that powers all of the Power Platform. It has integration with your Azure data, your Office data, user information, supports rich schemas, rich APIs, authentication, authorization, a whole bunch of great capabilities, and will feature very heavily in the demo in a few minutes. And really, the Common Data Service is the heart of a typical Power Platform solution. And it just does so much for your data that you can get so much more value from it very, very quickly. If we go look at Power Virtual Agents, it's a low-code designer just like what you would expect inside of something like Visio. It allows you to go drag and drop, commands, trigger words, do branching, collect parameters, collect inputs, to do all of this without having to be a natural language expert or having to be an AI expert. The Power Virtual Agent plugs into all the other parts of the Power Platform, so authentication and the way you govern and deploy all of those same skills would apply to the Power Virtual Agent infrastructure and capabilities. If you haven't tried it out and you're an existing Power Platform user, I really would recommend giving it a shot. In the case of Power Automate, it has that low-code workflow designer, matches what you'd see inside of Visio, provides an easy way to go in response to data events or human interaction to trigger a series of steps. Just like the rest of the Power Platform, it supports great professional developer extensibility for more logic, for more AI, for more integration with your existing systems, as well as a strong governance story across the board. So whether you're building UI automation or robotic process automation or RPA solutions inside of Power Automate, you can do it in a way where you can have thousands or tens of thousands of bots, but without having to compromise on security or how you govern them as an enterprise, which I know for a lot of the customers that come from the Office side of the house, this is really important. Integrates very naturally for all those components with the Office ecosystem. And The Power Platform really has dramatically grown over the last 12 or 18 months. We've really seen our customers reach an inflection point when it comes to adopting these low-code solutions. And this all goes back to those stats I opened the presentation with. Our customers are coming and seeing increased demand to go solve a whole bunch of changing business processes, and they want to do it as fast as possible. We can see that 86% of the Fortune 500 now uses Power Apps. Power Apps has grown over 2.8x year over year, and over 5x when it comes to using the premium or more advanced capabilities inside of Power Apps. And if we go look at the customers that are taking advantage, it's across all industries and segments. Every company in the world needs to bring tech intensity and digitally transform moving forward. And Power Apps and the Power Platform makes that incredibly possible and tenable in a way where it wasn't as easy to do in the past. And that's really what makes it magic with low code and those capabilities. And perhaps one of the favorite things we like to talk about with the Power Platform is that low code development is a team sport. And what we mean by that is it's not just about pro developers or coders or IT professionals or citizen developers or business users building out these solutions. It's actually about how you can, for the first time, you can have business users, developers and coders and IT working hand in hand to go build these transformative solutions. And this is one of those aspects that's unique about the Power Platform. It's not just about going faster and building more solutions or more apps, which you can do with the Power Platform. It's also about starting to change the way we think about doing development and the way we think about bringing solutions to market and allowing business users to go, for example, open up the UI inside of Power Apps and make changes or suggestions, or business users who maybe want to go explore data themselves using Power BI, using Power BI Desktop before there's a formal report built out by IT, or the inverse, where a business user wants to go to a professional developer or IT and ask for a more formal report or application or bot to solve their problems. That ebb and flow back and forth across the company really starts to allow transformative thinking and really high value solutions to be built very quickly with lots of different stakeholders. And this is one of those more interesting, unique aspects of low code. I'd say it's probably a more advanced, a PhD level, a low code item, but I do want to call it out as something for a lot of our customers to aspire to as a North Star long term. And to really ground this, we're going to go start with a great demo from Toyota Motors North America, where they've gone and used the Power Platform to basically develop this team sport approach to delivering solutions and to go use all the different aspects of the Power Platform to change their business. So let me just switch over to my demo real quick. Today, Toyota Motors North America has over 450 quality check engineers that go out to the field and confirm that aftermarket accessories are installed correctly on cars before they're delivered to vehicles. However, they use a legacy web application, which you can see right here, which is only accessible on their corporate network and on PCs, and is not very efficient. As a result, less than 10% of all the car deliveries get the inspection that they want to improve the customer's experience. To change that, Toyota turned to Power Apps. So if we look over here on the Power Apps mobile application that Toyota built, it uses all kinds of great device capabilities to quickly look up all the relevant deliveries to me as a field worker. I can say click through in one of these ones, which will also pull up all the details about what the car looks like and what accessories were requested right on my mobile device, no matter where I am. And in this case, I can see a frameless home link was supposed to be installed, as well as alloy wheel locks for this particular car. And that process of running the quality check is now fully digitized and actually intelligent. So when I say click alloy wheel locks, it will ask me to upload a photo, and I can just take that from my phone. And what this will do is it will go use Azure AI and computer vision to determine that with 96% certainty, the alloy wheel locks are actually installed. So now all of the field workers can have 100% coverage for over 1,500 dealerships to ensure that all of the aftermarket accessories are installed correctly. And the way that Toyota was able to build this application was with Power Apps. Inside the Power Apps Studio, which is available inside the browser, they were able to create this rich mobile application in less than 1 week. And this mobile app, you can see all the same screens that we were just showing on my phone. And we can also see that it's joined against all kinds of data sources here on the left-hand side, with the most important one being the Common Data Service. This is where they store all the information about vehicle delivery requests. the vehicles themselves, and also their catalog for their aftermarket car modifications. And all of this information not only powers this mobile app, but also starts to unlock innovation across their entire company. And that's where the brand new Power Apps and Teams integration is so exciting for Toyota. They can now have all of their employees start to build Power Apps inside of Teams that leverage the same enterprise data to really build great transformational experiences. And if I look here, it's that same Power App Studio that I was just showing in the browser is now available inside of Microsoft Teams. And I've also gone and created a table already in the Common Data Service to track feedback about those aftermarket accessory installations. And this could be done by, say, someone in the customer support org to track whether or not it's successful. And I can record the feedback text. I can also go look at the accessory items themselves. And these will be a lookup using that same table that the mobile app uses for the accessory catalog. I can just have the score, which say is a value between 0 and 10, and mark whether or not it's installed correctly. So it has advanced types and references all the other great enterprise data. So to show how easy it is to create a few rows, it's just like Excel. And I'll say installation was great. And for the accessory item, I will use the alloy wheel locks, give it a score of 10 out of 10, and say it was installed correctly. Then maybe I'll say the installation was bad. And maybe this was a frameless HomeLink mirror, give that a score out of 0, and it was not installed correctly. And maybe I'll say for the last one, installation was okay. And just to really hit this point about the accessory items, this drop down is the same one that they see on the mobile app. One catalog for all the accessories across all of Toyota. In my case, I'll do body side moldings. Give it a score of 7, say it was installed correctly. And just like that, I have a few example records stored in the Common Data Service and accessible to me inside of Power Apps, inside of Teams. Now I can start to drag on things like a vertical gallery, which is a list of items, and bind it to that table that I just created. I'll choose accessory feedbacks. You can see all those records update right there. And I can also do things like an edit form, which allows me to create new feedback requests or edit ones that are already filed. I can bind this to the same accessory feedbacks data source that I just created. And then I can go start to choose the different fields that I want. And in my case, I'll say the accessory item, I'll say whether or not it's installed correctly, and I'll also record the score. Click add. And all of these will be bound to that field automatically to that same table inside the Common Data Service. And what's really exciting is that, again, all that rich type information about lookups and yes, no, that flows through inside of this Power App. You can see it in the same drop down here. I can see whether or not it's installed correctly or not. Very easy, very fast app creation on top of the Common Data Service inside of Teams. And maybe I'll bind this form back over to the gallery. So when I go select different items, you can see how it refreshes over here in real time, all wired up, again, automatically. And, Power Apps isn't just about binding data. It also has a great visual experience. So maybe I want to go add a quick header to the top of this. I'm going to go choose the Toyota red. And maybe I'll add a plus button up in the upper right-hand corner. And just like that, you're able to go build new Power Apps and create new enterprise data inside of Teams without having to depend on the other departments and just using their data to build things faster. And one of the things that Toyota also had to work through as part of rolling out all these different solutions was how do they support the dealerships or field workers that still were using that legacy web application? And that's when they turned to Power Automate. So with robotic process automation, they're able to copy every single record in that mobile Power App over to that legacy web app. And they do that inside the Power Automate Visual Designer. We can see right here, whenever a new record is created inside that vehicle delivery request, it's going to go trigger this workflow. And when it does, it's going to go trigger a UI flow. And this UI flow was built with the brand new Power Automate desktop capability. This is something we just announced at Ignite. It builds on top of Softomotive's Win Automation technology, has almost 1,000 different UI automation steps and options, all available inside this rich experience. It supports a recorder. You can see here I've recorded some steps on that legacy Toyota app earlier, and it's incredibly enterprise ready, but still being low code for all your employees to automate their different tasks. And if I just click run here, this will actually launch that legacy web application, and you'll see it start to enter all the different information from the Power App in real time on my device without me having to interact with the keyboard at all. And this is how they can quickly modernize their business process without having to change everything. And that's what's really special about Power Platform. Without coders, without developers, and doing it in place with your existing IT landscape, you can change everything with the Power Platform, from Power Apps to Teams to Power Automate. And those professional developers are able to go bring in Azure resources like Azure API Management or code hosted inside of Azure Functions, alongside the Common Data Service and the Microsoft Graph, all written inside of Visual Studio and hosted in GitHub to really build out these transformative solutions on top of the Power Platform in the broader Microsoft Cloud. And this ability to really go from those low-code experiences that I was just showing for Toyota all the way to having professional developers involved is just what's so unique and so special about the Power Platform and what we're trying to do at Microsoft. And one of my favorite customer examples where this really can be seen in action is Telstra. So what Telstra does is they provide one of the largest telcos in Australia and New Zealand, supporting tens of millions of customers and with tens of thousands of employees. And they've actually been able to go use the Power Platform to transform how their field operations work by basically implementing a series of Power Apps. And instead of having me talk about it, let me turn it over to Telstra, where we have a short video from the customer.
The biggest changes for our business has been the way that we communicate things out to our technicians.
When we looked at the ecosystem for a field technician, there were lots of different applications and systems and links and places to go and get information, having to manage and service all of that. It can be quite challenging. And what we really wanted to do is we wanted to really bring that together into one place for them. Microsoft Teams has been really important to running our field services. We saw this amazing opportunity to integrate Power Apps. We created 2 platforms, Technician Plus and Leader Plus, linked into Microsoft Teams, has made that cohesive experience for our users.
It really has everything. It's more about automating and digitizing a lot of those manual processes which were typically done via paper. It's really been an integral part of ensuring that the rest of the technician workforce is up to speed.
First thing in the morning, I log onto my tablet, jump onto Technician Plus to make sure I'm across all the new communications and news that is uploaded there daily. Then I travel to my first job.
I think the foundations that we laid has really helped create that platform for crisis management, whether it be fires or floods or obviously the most recent pandemic. We have to be quite agile in the way that we develop solutions to be able to manage those. And I spent about 7 years in the field servicing our customers. I then transitioned to a role in the field digitization team. I don't have a typical software engineering or IT background, and what the Power Platform has allowed me to do is really develop an application within 48 hours with end-to-end reporting. We've automated and digitized around 70 processes.
We have visibility of weather warnings, and we have meetings on MS Teams daily with our field leads just to ensure our safety before we are mobilising.
Technicians will go out to those sites and they'll capture photos through their tablet, and then our resource coordinators can visualise that information in a Power BI report.
Being in the field, we knew where to go for the updates and communications. It's increased our efficiency dramatically. We can service our customers quicker.
Power Platform has helped us get about 10 million minutes back into our business, which has increased the productivity of our people. I'm really passionate about building that community of problem solvers, seeing those guys out there using the tools that I've developed, and it makes you want to provide a better experience.
I like resolving customers' issues, and the tools that we've been given definitely improve our experience and the customer's experience.
Another great example where the Power Platform is in action is Kobe City in Japan. And what Kobe City had to do was to build out an entire end-to-end process around dispersing payments and stimulus associated with the COVID-19 crisis, with the idea to go support local businesses and local citizens. And what Kobe City was able to do in just a matter of days was to build out a Power App portal where citizens could go submit requests and gather more information, FAQs, as well as a Power Virtual Agent chatbot experience where citizens could go and actually ask questions, take actions, gather more information. And on top of all of that, a Power BI report to understand the rate of disbursements as well as the rate of consumption of services inside the city. And this entire Power Platform solution is something that you can just build so incredibly quickly. And if you go back to the title of the session about building and responding to agile business processes, that's what Power Platform really enables, which is so important in a world that's changing so much each and every single day. And another great example is T-Mobile. T-Mobile is one of the largest telcos in North America with over 80 million customers and covering about 98% of the continental US with wireless coverage. And T-Mobile has a great story of how a business department started using the Power Apps, got a bunch of value with just a single Power App, but then ultimately expanded to have hundreds upon hundreds of Power Apps, as well as hundreds and hundreds of users and makers who are building Power Apps and other solutions inside the Power Platform. And this has been able to go help improve back office operations like project planning, or to go do integration solutions related to the Sprint acquisition, as well as a really interesting story around how their retail operations were able to respond to and work with COVID. And to really talk about that, I actually want to turn it over to a video that Satya, our CEO of Microsoft, had recorded.
In early March, T-Mobile had a massive challenge on their hands. They were designated as an essential business, so the company needed a way to keep a fifth of its stores completely staffed while prioritizing its employees' health and keeping them informed. In just 48 hours, two T-Mobile business analysts, Greg Soto and Matt McDermott, built an app with Power Apps and did all of that. Their app let T-Mobile employees share their work status, including if they were available to work and willing to work. Managers could see who was already working in a store and who was working remotely and who was willing to work but didn't have a physical store to work in, and use all that information to do that complex reallocation of staff. The solution allowed T-Mobile to keep retail associates employed, keep their customers, including the very important first responders, connected.
And that's just such a great story in the case of T-Mobile, of the speed with which you can respond to the business needs. And for this next story about Schlumberger, what's amazing is the scale with which Schlumberger was able to operate with the Power Platform. Schlumberger has over 10,000 Power Apps and over 2,300 makers and citizen developers that are creating new applications and solving new business problems each and every month. And Schlumberger was able to do all of this with a rich governance and a rich center of excellence strategy. So they were able to empower grassroots innovation across the entire company without compromising on security or data integrity or Schlumberger's own customers' trust. And that's why this is one of my favorite examples out there, just because it's amazing to see how a company can really innovate and transform and go find all kinds of efficiencies at a time like this. And when we go think about how we're going to help improve more customer journeys and more customer stories with the Power Platform, there's 5 main focus areas for the next level of low code at Microsoft. The first is enterprise trust. We hear this from all the customers we work with. There's general belief that you can go build solutions quickly with Power Platform, but you have to do it in a way where you can trust what's being built without compromising on what matters to our customers when it comes to their own data and their own customer relationships. The second is the idea of infusing artificial intelligence everywhere in the Power Platform. If you're inside Power BI analyzing data, how can we use AI to guide you and help improve the experience? If you're automating tasks with Power Automate, how can we start to understand the natural language or digital paper or forms to go improve and bring structure to those business processes? That's what it's all about with AI being everywhere. Third is remote work, which should be familiar to most folks, which is this idea that due to the COVID-19 crisis, so many people are working remote right now. And even when things are back to normal, there's still going to be a whole bunch of people working remote in the future. And as part of that, we want to make sure Power Platform works great with Teams, which is the #1 remote workplace solution out there when it comes to enterprise customers. And number 4 is about Fusion Teams. And Fusion Teams are that idea of professional developers and IT professionals working with business users and citizen developers on a single solution. And 5th is about hyper automation, or this idea of how do we go bring automation to all aspects of the Power Platform to improve efficiency and make everybody more productive. And if we go drill into that Fusion Team aspect, the big ideas at Microsoft is you don't have to stitch it together. You can just build it together. And that's because we've brought together the low code platform with Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, and Power BI, together with the code first platform of Microsoft Azure, Visual Studio, and VS Code, with GitHub as a great bridge between the two. You're able to use low code and code first as a developer or coder to go build those solutions as fast as possible. And we built it this way from the very first day of the Power Platform. And we have a ton of great product integration. You can connect to Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake, Cosmos DB, Azure Data Factory, Azure Logic Apps, Azure Functions, Azure API Management. Those are all out of the box, first class capabilities and integration inside of the Power Platform. You can use low code and these code first solutions and live in the developer tools you already know and love, like Visual Studio or VS Code, to go build those solutions. So when we talk about Power Platform at Microsoft, we're not saying there's no place for code. Instead, we're saying low code and no code is another way to go extend the code tools that you already have and already use today. And this is really important to where we think that the Power Platform is going to go long term. And as a great example, we actually reached out to a few developers and coders out there in the Microsoft ecosystem to hear from them about what they think.
With the Microsoft Power Platform, developers around the world are innovating, transforming processes, and deploying highly complex end-to-end automation solutions.
As a pro dev, it allows me to deliver functionality faster with less code, but where required, we can use more advanced techniques to extend the platform further. And this is the beauty of the Power Platform.
As a developer, there are two things I absolutely love about the Power Platform. Number one is productivity with rapid development. I can build solutions in days, and in the process, help organizations get deeper value out of their investments in the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem and SaaS services. Number two, it empowers me as a developer to effortlessly build solutions using my favorite tools, programming languages, and development environments.
What I also think is really special, especially for my career, is that we can execute on a lot of projects in a short amount of time. It really makes you understand the underlying needs of the customer a lot better, and this creates a great partnership that you can just continue to execute on projects month after month.
So I learned about the Power Platform when I was fresh out of school. One of my first projects was developing a Power App that involved many embedded flows. Now this project had lots of visibility, so I was presenting this project to the director of the business each week. Now since I was still learning about the Power Platform, when I had questions and needed help fast, I went to the community for help. Now after accruing all this knowledge from the community, I'm giving back to the community and providing knowledge to other users that needed help, just like me.
Working as a full stack developer, I was used to building most custom components from scratch. So that's one of the things that I love about working with the Power Platform, is that if I ever need a custom UI component or a background process, I can easily just build that same component in a fraction of the time.
As a developer, one of the things that I love about the Power Platform is how easy it is for anyone to come in and build an app. Long gone are the days where it takes you weeks, months to get an app together.
As a developer, I spent a lot of my career trying to find ways for the business and technical to communicate more effectively. Less ambiguous requirements, trying to make sure that we don't build something that wasn't quite asked for. Well, the Power Platform has fundamentally changed the way that I work. We're working as a single team using a single vocabulary. Pro coders can build PCF components and Azure extensions, and then low coders then consume those seamlessly. And the great thing is that you no longer have to pick sides. So, pro code, no code, unite.
The Power Platform, and most importantly Power Automate, has definitely changed my life and helped me make a career out of it.
And just on top of the great developer story that we have with the Power Platform, we also have a great Power Platform story inside of Microsoft Teams. And we call this internally the remote work platform, which is this idea that we want to go bring custom applications, custom workflows, custom BI dashboards, custom chatbots directly into Teams, where so many employees and so many users around the world already spend so much of their time right now collaborating with their colleagues. And by bringing all these different solutions built on the Power Platform to where people already are, we're going to reduce the friction, reduce the effort, and also reduce the cognitive overload that everybody's struggling through during this period of time where everybody's working remote. So these new capabilities, particularly the Project Oakdale announcements, if you haven't heard of that yet, where we go bring a set of common data service capabilities to all Teams users as a low-code data platform included inside of the Teams license, is really a game changer for us when we talk about the Power Platform, Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft and Office 365 moving forward. And to go make it easier to tap from Teams back into those developer resources, we've also gone and made a bunch of improvements to the workflow to go from Azure API management to the Power Platform, making it easier than ever to go connect to APIs that you build and host inside of Azure. And in fact, we've made it so that if you're using a Power App inside of Teams, you can use a custom connector on top of Azure API management at no additional cost. It's now included inside of the Teams license. I know this was a really exciting announcement for a lot of our users and Power Platform customers today, because it makes it easier to go build those transformative experiences inside the primary system of engagement for so many of us, which is Microsoft Teams. And a lot of great capabilities around Azure API management and the Power Platform. And of course, one of my personal favorite announcements is that we now have first-class GitHub actions and tasks for the Power Platform. You can now use continuous integration, continuous deployment, use source control, use all the things you know and love with GitHub connected to Power Platform. You don't have to give up the dev workflow and the dev lifecycle that you're used to when you go to Power Platform. And this all goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Low code doesn't mean there isn't code anymore. Low code just means you have a new tool in your tool belt to go build out your digital solutions. Helps you move faster. Modern developers will need to use GitHub, Visual Studio, Azure, and Power Platform. And one of the really exciting aspects, independent of the Azure and Teams thing, is also something called Power Automate Desktop. So this is a Windows-based application that we're happy to announce, which integrates fully with the Power Automate service and brings all the great technology from that Softomotive acquisition we announced earlier this year. So you can now do the most advanced enterprise-grade RPA solutions with Power Automate, with that Power Automate license, using a fully managed SaaS product. And that vision of Power Automate of supporting UI or desktop-based automation with the Power Automate Desktop, as well as API-based automation, as well as AI-based automation, is what makes Power Automate so unique and just really a great tools to go improve the automation and workflow and integration inside of any enterprise landscape. And it's going to be a lot easier and a lot faster to go integrate than potentially building everything from scratch. So again, it's a great way as a developer or someone that maybe works in SharePoint a lot to go start to integrate with those legacy systems in a first-class way. And of course, all of these capabilities wouldn't be worth that much if our customers couldn't trust us. And that's a top of mind item for the Power Platform. Power Platform, of all low-code offerings, is in the most geographies, has the most certifications, the most compliance support. It's the most secure by default, and it integrates with all of the Microsoft security features that everybody knows. Azure Active Directory for logins and identity and conditional access. Intune for device management. Azure integration for logs and monitoring, as well as the M365 Admin Center when it comes to activity logs. All of that is wired up by default, so you can go adopt the Power Platform with the peace of mind to know that it integrates with all the great things that you already trust and use from the Microsoft Cloud. And that's one of the really important aspects that we've thought about when we've gone out and built all these great admin and governance capabilities inside the Power Platform. And with these tools, we've seen so many customers across industries and all kinds of sectors build amazing centers of excellence, where they actually have a central place which defines the policies and rules and training and skilling to go drive Power Platform adoption across their enterprise. Low-code development is going to be one of the most transformational aspects for development in the next 5 years. If you want to be proactive and lead the charge where you work, one of the best ways is to create a center of excellence and be in front of it and actually drive the change as opposed to react and just watch the change happen. And we're seeing this across industries, across segments, companies large and small. These centers of excellence are a great way to go increase adoption, increase security, and also get a whole lot more value by the technology and tools you already use, whether it's Azure, Visual Studio, GitHub, SharePoint, or Teams. And if we go look at kind of what's like underpinning all these different security capabilities in the center of excellence, in those claims, it's resource level security, role-based access control in the common data service, the ability to isolate and govern environments, which is a container underneath a AED tenant, much like an Azure subscription, all the great tenant identity control, and all of that global footprint. So no matter where you are, if there's data sovereignty requirements, we almost certainly have you covered when it comes to the Power Platform. There's trust at every level, and it's built on that same foundation you're used to across the entire Microsoft cloud. So hopefully over the course of these customer stories and the demo and the vision, there is an interest to get started. And if there is, we have a bunch of great resources online. Go to aka.ms Power Platform Guidance. That will help guide you on how to get started, how to start driving adoptions, how to do governance, how to create a center of excellence. And you can sign up for Power Platform with a free trial in seconds. If you haven't used it before, now's the time. Go give it a shot. If you use Azure, if you use SharePoint, Power Platform is a key ingredient to successful adoption of both, to go get the most from all the investments you've already made. And what I would say is, when you go think about how you go convert that learning to practice, figure out how you're going to organize your approach within the company. How are you going to go drive a strategy for the near term, medium term, and long term? How are you going to help govern once you start seeing adoption? If you end up like Schlumberger with 10,000 applications and over 2,000 makers every month, what policies do you want in place? What approaches do you want in place? And then last but not least is activate. That's that learning, that skilling. Because what I would say is it's all about you getting started if you haven't tried Power Platform yet, but then also how do you go help the rest of your company get started? So organize, govern, activate, go take that and apply to the Center of Excellence moving forward. And I just finished and say, it's your turn. What are you waiting for? Give it a shot. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it that you listened in. I hope that we did a great job covering how you can build agile business processes with the Power Platform, that the customer stories, that the demo, that the roadmap, that the announcements were all interesting. And we really appreciate all the great support and feedback we get from customers. Please hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn if you have any feedback or suggestions for the Power Platform. We're always listening. Thank you.